你好，我的朋友，我叫Jonathan，我叫 Big Truck Series Reviews at YouTube. Um, I could probably continue speaking Mandarin. 我可以说普通话一点. I could do that, but the thing about, I think for a video like this about China, a country which I actually lived in and actually went to school in, and I think I could, continue just making a video speaking in Chinese, but I'm not going to do that because the problem is I don't have a Chinese audience because fucking China blocks Google in China, which means that any Chinese audience that I might have, I can't get yet because none of them have the access to my videos. Because China actually, what they do is they block the entirety of Google and they make it so that Chinese people can't see YouTube. I'm not sure if it's because they don't like what, the government here in America has to say about the Chinese government, or if they don't want these people having too much freedom or whatever. But I remember the last time they blocked Google, what the Chinese people actually did was they had their own personal servers that they hooked up. I think they called them freedom sticks or something like that. And they hooked those things up so that they could use virtual private networks and have access to the internet whenever they felt like it. But anyway, that's all besides the point. The reason why I'm making this video is because China just unveiled recently a new stealth fighter. If I'm not mistaken, this is like the second stealth fighter, or at least the second time I've heard of them unveiling a stealth fighter within the last couple of years. I'd say within the last 3 years. And the problem, it's really sad as an American, especially after I've lived abroad in China and Japan, a couple other places. The sad thing is listening to the people who believe so strongly in the military-industrial complex going nuts over China's new fighter and worrying that this might actually be a problem for us. There's a number of things that a lot of you people do not understand. And granted, most of my videos, I rave like a lunatic about cars that suck. And, the fact that Bugatti Veyron Supersport is the fastest, most powerful street legal production car in the world, not the Hennessy Venom GT, which is, basically a Lotus Exige, which is changed into a Hennessy Venom GT. But anyway, I don't want to stray too far off the point. People are worried about these Chinese stealth fighter jets, and basically from the outline, it feels like they've copied the F-35 and the F-22. But what nobody seems to understand is the same thing that I constantly argue about when I'm talking about how shitty Samsung phones are. The reason why I pick iPhone is because of the refinement. I could easily buy a Galaxy Note 4 off of the YouTube money that I make in just 1 month of YouTubing. But what China has done here is they've created a jet that looks like the F-22 or partially looks like the F-35. But what none of you actually know is how effective it is against radar systems. The simple fact of the matter is stealth fighter jets are, number one, extremely expensive, and number two, very inefficient when you compare them to the current aircraft that we have. You can challenge me on this. I don't have a problem with it because I can throw constant facts at you. I'm a pilot. Now, first of all, if there's any pilots in the room who want to challenge me, feel free. You be the first people to comment. But let's go over some facts. And all of this is verifiable. You can look it up on Wikipedia or whatever. The simple fact of the matter is stealth fighter jets are extremely expensive. But the reason for that is because most countries keep the technology secret and don't want to sell it out to other countries. When you take a look at a jet like the F-16, the F-16 is a mass production jet that we can sell to just about any country just as easily as you would sell a Cadillac or a GM car, any GM car, a Ford car. It's a production fighter jet to give to most of these other countries so that they can actually say they actually have an Air Force and have something to be proud of. Now, these things are extremely expensive, partially because we can't sell them to other countries. An F-22, we will never sell that plane to any other country because the danger of that technology, that advanced technology falling into foreign hands is too high. You'll never see that plane sold to another country, the F-22. If they ever do make a production version to actually sell to another country, it will not be the same F-22 that we currently have. When those planes When those planes are run off for production, those things are for America only. So number one, they're extremely expensive. The F-22 program was a runaway corporate welfare payout to Lockheed Martin. Congress canceled the RA-8 Comanche, the attack helicopter. They canceled that program because when they did all the tests with the Comanche helicopter, as cool as I thought it was, I always thought the Comanche was awesome. But when they did the test, they realized that the Comanche was not as effective as the Apache attack helicopter, which we're currently using to shoot these people in the Middle East right now. They realized that the Comanche was too expensive, number one, and that it really didn't give the pilots any real major benefits over the Apache helicopter. Now, I knew they were never going to actually fully cancel a stealth helicopter because a helicopter has the ability to land in very small areas and it has the ability to be used for transport, secret items, and this, that, and other. So the next time we heard about stealth helicopter technology was in 2011 when bin Laden was killed by SEAL Team 6 and they accidentally crashed one of the helicopters into one of the compound walls, and the only thing we ever saw of it was the tail section of a rotor. So we know these things exist. It's just that they'll only pull shit like that out for black ops, black operations. They'll only pull stuff like that for black operations. They will never sell stealth equipment to any other country. First thing what somebody's going to want to say is, oh yeah, well they sell the F-35 to other countries. The F-35 was part of the Joint Strike Fighter program, and the F-35, another aircraft built by Lockheed Martin, just like the F-22, which became the F-22, they chose those jets specifically because in the F-35's case, the F-35 was easy to change into different variants. Now, these people thought that they were going to be able to sell 3 variants of the F-35. They thought they were going to be able to sell a naval version. They thought they were going to be able to sell a short area takeoff version, a vertical takeoff version using the ducted fan engine. They also thought they were going to be able to sell a conventional version that was just going to replace the F-16. Congress got smart and they were like, wait a minute. This fucking project is going to run away. The costs are going to be sky high. We're not going to have a vertical takeoff version because you're going to need 2 different engines for this fucking thing. And basically, it's just a jobs program. So around the same time that Obama was battling Congress and those budget sequestration cuts went into effect, what ended up happening was they started canceling variants of the F-35. So the one that you're going to see in the future is going to be the one that's there to replace the F-16, which is, getting older. But that leads me to the next problem. Problem is very simply that these things are extremely expensive and they're not as effective as current jets. Take a look at an F-16. An F-16 is a small aircraft, so it has some level of stealth already because it has a relatively small radar cross-section when you compare it to larger jets like the F-15. So it has some level of stealth, but not much. It's a small aircraft, but it carries a very good weapons load. It can carry bombs, it can carry missiles, it can carry external fuel tanks. It has a very long cruising range. The F-22, the problem with that plane is it has a shorter range than the F-16. Now, it has the ability to super cruise. It's able to fly extremely fast, but the problem is it has to carry fuel tanks externally in order to make those extremely high-speed cruises. Now, what that also means is that you degrade the stealth of an aircraft when you have to carry all this external shit. That's why the F-22 and the F-35 were designed so that they can carry things internally. Now, when you carry missiles and fuel and this, that, and other, when you carry this stuff internally, what you're doing is, well, first of all, you're putting yourself at risk because now you got all this shit internal. And you never know when a fuel line can rupture or something could go wrong. Now, granted, if you have enough refinement, you don't have to worry about something going wrong, if you're lucky. Problem is, if you have to carry everything internally, that means that you need a bigger aircraft in order to accomplish the same job that an aircraft the size of the F-16 would accomplish. So, why am I saying all that? My question is, why are people so worried about China having a stealth jet? We've got 2 different stealth jets. No other country wants them because they're too expensive. You can't just store a stealth jet in any old hangar. The skin of those planes has to be meticulously kept. Just like you have to cover up an engine to make sure birds don't land in it, you have to meticulously maintain a stealth aircraft. That shit costs money. It's a jobs program. It's not a cheap endeavor to run a stealth aircraft by any means. It's just not a cheap endeavor because you can't just keep it out in regular desert heat and not worry about something happening to the skin. If anything happens to the skin of that aircraft, you got to replace entire panels. I mean, a scratch can degrade the stealth abilities of a fucking stealth airplane. It doesn't make sense. Furthermore, and I guess that'll probably be my last point, who are you fighting with these things? Can anybody please tell me when was the last time we had a pitched dogfight with some other country's fighter jets? The Taliban doesn't have jet fighters. Al-Qaeda doesn't have jet fighters. Boko Haram doesn't have jet fighters. ISIS doesn't have jet fighters. ISIL doesn't have jet fighters. Syria doesn't. Syria has like some old 1970s, 1980s, 1960s Soviet era garbage, but we could take that shit out with an F-16 or F-15. We could take out fighters that we've got right now in retirement and blow their shit up. That's not a problem. Iran, look at their fighter jets. F-14s. They got shit that we sold them years ago when we were friends with the Shah of Iran. They got shit from before the movie Top Gun. Why are you worried about the shit that they got when they ain't got nothing? The most that Iran could hope is that they'd be able to buy this technology from China, but I really doubt that China would sell them this technology for the very simple reason is they don't want us seeing their technology and they don't want us getting our hands on it. And you never know. A lot of those Iranians are pretty desperate. They would sell us some shit if we say, hey, guess what? You know what? You just bought those fighter jets from China. Guess what? We'll give you $1 billion if you just give us one of those pieces of garbage. Guys, stop. The problem is all of us, we're playing these fucking Call of Duty games. We're playing Battlefield 4. Everybody thinks they know everything about jet fighters and flying and being a pilot and everything. Unless you're a pilot, you really don't understand what you're talking about. Unless you work in Congress, you do not understand the cost of this shit. And you're willing to spend all your tax dollars to keep a couple of white-collar workers at Lockheed Martin, Northrop, Boeing, et cetera, et cetera. You're willing to spend all of your tax dollars to keep these people building new jets and shit that we don't need. There's nobody to fight with them. And another thing, the F-22 was designed back during the Cold War. Do any of you history buffs from Call of Duty video games remember what years the Cold War was? That stuff is already obsolete. In fact, the sad thing is it takes so long to produce most of that stuff that it's obsolete by the time it comes out. And we can't use it to fight a ground war. The future of warfare is ground war and drone warfare. Drone warfare is inexpensive and highly efficient. You can fly drones are so small, you can fly them around an area for days. And as soon as somebody walks out of their cave, some Taliban guy walks out of their cave and decides that he's going to use a cell phone to call somebody, that drone launches a missile right down that cell phone signal and, he's gone. And that's it. That's the future of warfare. The future of warfare is highly discriminatory firepower. So for you people in the military-industrial complex mindset, to really think that this shit is so awesome that you really need to go even more bankrupt to buy it. I need you to understand something. The economy of America and the economy of China, I think some of you might have enough brains to know right now whose economy is actually doing better. Right now, America is spending like 6 to 8 times more than all of the other Western nations combined on defense, which isn't really border defense. It's carrying warfare across the world and building shit that we don't need. And meanwhile, we can get those jobs done much more efficiently by using aircraft like the F-16, the A-10 Thunderbolt for ground attacks. When you want to shoot somebody on the ground, the A-10 Thunderbolt is the master of the fucking ground. That thing's got a gun that can blow tanks wide open. If you want air superiority, you got the F-16. Sure, we got the F-22, we got the F-35, but who the fuck are you trying to hide from? There's no missiles being shot at you by the Taliban. There are no pitched dogfights with ISIS. You guys need to get out of this Top Gun mentality, because even the movie Top Gun didn't really happen. I hate to break it to you guys, but you know, we're not having those dogfights anymore. The future of warfare is drones and ground warfare. We're not fighting China. We're not fighting Russia, and all you're doing is spending money. Here's a question. Somebody, one of you geniuses, tell me how many dogfights we had. Where was the Battle of Ukraine? When was the Battle of Ukraine 2014? Oh, that's right. There wasn't one. Oh, come on, guys. Come on, use your brains, please. Please, please help me out. Use your critical thinking skills. Everybody's, I'm looking at all these comments. Oh, Obama's going to let America fall behind. Hey, guys, first of all, America is, we still have better technology than just about everybody in the world. Even without this military aircraft shit, we still got better technology than everybody in the world. We've got the best of the best. Now, granted, the space industry is fucked up right now. I mean, they're blowing up rockets left and right, and we need to do something about that. But goddamn, it's like this spending on military weapons doesn't make any sense. If you want to spend on spacecraft and better satellite technology to get us to the moon and maybe even to Mars, that makes sense. In fact, that, you know, that really does make more sense, because, you know, there's so many industries that could benefit from spacefaring technology. But as for wasting $100 million per jet, guys, I think it's time to wake up. So, to my Chinese friends, 谢谢再见. And to anybody who watches this channel who doesn't speak Chinese, yeah, it's time to use some critical thinking. Thank you very much.